Happy Wednesday to you and yours, Voltrons. It is the 4th of June. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. This is Solo Bobby for the next week plus. Sarah and her family, of course, on vacation. Sarah and her daughter, London, probably in the air as we speak right now, en route to Switzerland over the pond, across the water. So best wishes to you, partner. I hope you have a fantastic getaway. We talked about it towards the end of yesterday's show. Switzerland is definitely on my top 3 in terms of places visited. It's just an electric outdoors experience, and the people are great. And I hope that she and London have a blast. We got a lot planned for you in the meantime, though, including today's episode, which will cover a number of things, especially because press conferences are being held pretty much every day this week, or at least Wednesday through Friday, from the second session of Ravens organized team activities, which are voluntary activities, of course. And so Zay Flowers was one who hit the podium yesterday, or at least was behind the mic in a media availability section outside of one winning drive. And he teased a whole other level that he's yet to have unlocked in his game as he gets ready for his 3rd season. It's going to be really interesting stuff. Derrick Henry put down a pretty significant bet and made a deal with NBC's or former NBC Sports personality Dan Patrick. DP got him going. And I think, honestly, Dan's one of those guys, the way that he conducts interviews, the way that he commands a certain level of respect. He gets so much out of his subjects. And I think that this was, while it was a very short and brief interview, it's going to be interesting to hear what the King has to say in terms of the bet that has been made and who he's going to take in a race when it comes to he and Lamar going up head to head, and what his 40 time would be right now if he were to have run, or if he were to run a 40-yard dash. Other than that, Todd Monken gave an admission. DeAndre Hopkins, perhaps some newfound youth in the tank as he gets ready for his first season in Baltimore. He will turn 33 later this week. Need I say any more? Let's get started. The super chats are already rolling in. You guys are unbelievable. We reached 500 plus yesterday, 526 to be exact, at the start of today's episode. That's channel members, official Voltrons. It's been an unbelievable feature that we rolled out back in March, and now 500 plus of you can say that you are an official channel Voltron. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support. Before I dive in, Dre Dog got us started. He says Solo Bobby Valentino. That's what it is. Solo Bobby After Dark. You name it. Bobby Greed perhaps might take center stage if the run on memberships begin at some point today. Douglas H. Brown Sr. says, we got your back, Bobby, this week, although we miss Sarah, as do I. And I appreciate your patience, obviously, throughout the next week or so. Obviously, I can't monitor the live chat and speak and think and deliver and present all at the same time. So it will be, as it always is, a multitasking effort while Sarah is on vacation. And Yo-Jitsu got things started earlier this morning. Let's get this party started, Voltrons. Mount up. We appreciate you guys, Dre Dog, Douglas, and Yo-Jitsu, for getting this thing started. I'll do the same right now in terms of the content and in terms of attendance. Luke Jones, friend of the show, covers the Ravens as a beat reporter for PressBox, had this to say in terms of tallying up who was and wasn't in attendance, again, for the second session, the first day of the second session, which took place yesterday in Baltimore. Lamar leading the list of those who did not participate. Not exactly surprising if you follow the trend that has been the last couple of years, particularly given his command and comfort with Todd Monken's offense. Kyle Hamilton, Ronnie Stanley, Nnamdi Madubuike, Kyle Van Noy, Rashad Bateman, Cheeto Awuzie, Ben Cleveland, Jake Hummel, Sanusi Kame, and Emory Jones, who's dealing with that shoulder, that labrum procedure that was had not long ago for Emory. So that's not a surprise. And honestly, I'm not really surprised by anybody on this list. I guess I'd like to know what's going on with Jake Hummel. You obviously want to know in a second-year player with Sanusi Kane if there's anything within the injury realm that should be discussed for any of those absences. But at this point, in early June, weeks out from mandatory minicamp, coming off the first session where there was just a tremendous attendance. It doesn't move me very much to over dissect this. Daniel Fa'alele, by the way, who missed the first session last week with what John Harbaugh referred to as physical things, he did return again after being out last week. So that's your attendance. Let's now get in to what we got cooking up. And that is exactly where we begin with Zay Flowers, a third-year wide receiver, of course, out of Boston College. He was a first-round draft pick in 2023, and he has now built himself into a Pro Bowler. Well, what if I told you that Pro Bowler feels like he's not even close to his ceiling? He hasn't showcased what could make him close or reaching his ceiling in terms of his ability within the confines of Todd Monken's offense. Here's Zay yesterday behind the mic.
Unlock a whole nother level in my game, and I haven't unlocked it yet. So once we start hitting those downfield passes more, I think it'll be a lot more explosive plays between me and Rashad. And now we got D-Hop, so it should be three times as much.
3 times as much, huh? The question was posed by the Baltimore Banner's Jonas Schaefer, and it was essentially saying, hey, you told us this time last year that you wanted to become more involved with the downfield passing attack. And not that he wasn't involved, but usage-wise, productivity-wise, you got to give the nod to Rashad Bateman. Bate was in big play form last year. And while Zay could absolutely take the top off the defense, while Zay, from a target share standpoint, is dominant and clearly wide receiver 1 for this organization, you want to see him get more involved using that explosiveness, using that speed, using that chemistry that he has so quickly formed, whether it be off schedule or on schedule, with his MVP level quarterback, Lamar Jackson. But you heard him there. It just showed me, meaning last year, I can unlock a whole other level of my game, and I haven't unlocked it yet. Now we got D-Hop. It should be 3 times as much. Well, get ready for sort of the theme of the earlier part of this offseason. Everybody internally, as you would expect, is building up DeAndre Hopkins and his overall impact, what he's expected to provide, what he already is providing from a mentor-mentee kind of standpoint. But speaking to Zay and what he's attempting to do coming off a Pro Bowl season, he made it clear. What are his goals? He wants to one-up himself, and I should say himself, or maybe I should say his 2024 self. That's what he's out to do. And if you needed a refresher on what his 2024 self consisted of, I've got the numbers for you. He played in 17 games, 15 of which were starts, obviously missed the postseason with that knee injury. We'll have an update on that in just a second. He was targeted 116 times, 74 of which turned into receptions. He had his first 1,000-plus yard receiving season with 1,059 and 14.3. That worked out too, by the way, yards per reception. So, again, an explosive, big play threat. There's no question. You want to get that touchdowns number up. He dipped in that category compared to his rookie season where he had 5. Last year, he had 1 less. He had 4. So, again, a Pro Bowl caliber season for Zay Flowers. Clearly, he is wide receiver 1. But I guess the question becomes, what's next? And what could this whole other level that's he's teasing that could be incoming, what does that consist of? That now enters Todd Monken. And one of his admissions when it comes to Zay Flowers, yes, he's got a lot of mouths to feed, which is a great problem to have. But he held himself accountable and his staff accountable at yesterday's press conference in terms of looking what's next, looking what's ahead when it comes to Zay Flowers in year 3.
Got to get him the ball more. I mean, that's really it. The problem is we have a lot of those guys like, you know, he's an unbelievable football player. You know, he's not only an outside receiver that has elite route running skills, but he's unbelievable with the ball in his hands. So you have like a guy that fits 2 positions, really plays 2 spots. Now, I'm not sure we're going to use that when it's contract negotiations and we see him as 2 players. But I'm just saying that you can use him in a variety of roles to get him the ball, which allows your volume to go up You know, he's a volume catch guy. You can use him in novelty screens, getting him the ball down the field. So I expect him to take another leap, you know, in terms of, you know, his consistency. But, you know, when you make it to the Pro Bowl or you're an all-pro, like, you're pretty good. You're pretty good.
Pretty good indeed. And that's exactly what he was last year. You heard Todd Monken there really speaking glowingly about Zay Flowers, saying that we just got to get him the ball more. Well, again, from a target share standpoint, Zay Flowers was the number one guy in Baltimore last year, and yet they want to get him more involved. He said he's unbelievable with the ball in his hands, which we've all watched. And also, as Jonas Shaffer noted here on X, yes, he expects him to take another leap, another step forward in 2025. I think we all expect that. What Zay and Lamar have built up together in quick fashion is significant. And Zay's overall impact is significant. I think they want to continue to use him in the screen game, which is lethal, accounting for his speed, accounting for his twitchiness, right? What he can do as an elite route runner, what he can do as a reliable pass catcher. He had a few drops that come to mind last year, but Zay is your reliable player. Now, obviously, you want him to be available so that he can showcase that reliability, and that now brings me to his knee. Because guess what? Having missed the postseason last year, you already know that that's kept him up at night. But he gave an update on what his status is physically, because it wasn't all that long ago that we went into this offseason. The Ravens entered into this offseason with the potential expectation that was there, right? The potential reality of having Zay Flowers undergoing procedure, like a surgical procedure on that knee. Fortunately for Zay, fortunately for the Ravens, he was able to avoid surgery, and here he is now updating everybody on that knee.
A lot, but my knee great. I feel 100%. I feel like I'm ready to go. I feel like I'm ready for the season. No limits, so I'm good. I flushed it, to be honest, like, cause I couldn't really do nothing about it. It's like I was hurt, so I just had to watch and help to cheer the guys on and try to get to the next round. And if it was possible, I would have played.
So if it's possible, I would have played. Yes, I think we all probably believe that because of Zay's character, Zay's perseverance, Zay's intensity, and his want to, right? That desire. But more importantly, moving forward, because the past is in the past, he is in good shape physically. You heard the quote there. My knee is great. I feel 100%. I feel like I'm ready for the season. This is on June 3rd, yesterday. And then he adds in a little no limits. Look, if you're a Ravens fan, be hard-pressed to assume, right, to not assume, or I should say, I'm assuming that the majority of Ravens fans out there have a high level of expectation for this 2025 team and a high level of expectations for number 4. Because in a lot of ways, this offense is built for him. It starts and ends with Lamar. But what they've been able to do together in a short time, the off-schedule, right, ability to improvise effectively and efficiently. Zay in those short yardage situations with the burst and the quickness, the screen game that kind of takes a defense, throws the defense for a loop, and just his overall presence that you have to account for. It was not the same in the postseason, and it reared its ugly head in a sense. Yes, they beat themselves. I should say themselves. But Zay not being there, in particular for the Buffalo game, right? When you've got, with all due respect, the Anthony Millers of the world that are essentially trying to replace him, that's tough. That's tough. Remind me who the player was that they were bringing in for return specialist work. They brought him in from Houston down the latter half of the season. His name escapes me right now, but he was out there attempting to, it was like a collective by committee approach to attempt to replace the production that Zay Flowers wasn't able to provide. Desmond King? Sebastian says it was Desmond King. I thought it was Steven Sims. Anyway, point is, personnel-wise, they didn't have Zay Flowers, and they weren't able to truly replace that production. What they're going to attempt to do this upcoming season, not that they absolutely need him to be this, but they're bringing in DeAndre Hopkins. And D-Hop, of course, turns 33 later this week. We covered this within the last week or so, that he's keeping his receipts. For those who have doubted what he is at this point in his career. And during the first session of OTAs last week, he put up a leaderboard, a photo on his Instagram story of a leaderboard that looks to have clocked miles per hour in terms of the fastest OTA player. And look where D-Hop found himself. We saw this last week. 20 flat. That's tied with Devontae Walker, the second-year wide receiver out of North Carolina. LaJohntay Wester, just a fraction, really a decimal point behind DeAndre. Zay Flowers found his way onto this list. Keaton Mitchell, of course, both those players came in at 19.6 miles an hour. But again, Tez and DeAndre at 20 flat. Good to see Malachi Starks crack this top 10 as well at 19.5. How about Keith Kirkwood, a veteran wide receiver? He's moving. But why do I bring up DeAndre, though? You're going to continue to hear from me that I don't think that they need DeAndre Hopkins to be this presence that he was, a decade ago or, 5 years ago. They aren't paying him to be that. And I don't think, again, they're not desperate for the old DeAndre Hopkins to sip from the fountain of youth. With that said, these numbers and what others have shared through their media sessions certainly suggests that this new change of scenery at this point, very early in the process, is paying dividends for DeAndre, and perhaps he's finding some newfound youth. Todd Monken, his offensive coordinator, talked about, again, this embarrassment of riches and also integrating DeAndre into the puzzle, because that is a piece to Todd Monken's puzzle. Certainly, number 10 is.
Too much talent, try to figure out how to manage it, how to have everybody embrace their role, than not have enough. So we love having another weapon. I thought Nelly the last couple of years did a great job for us as our third receiver. I don't really see D-Hop as a third receiver. I see him more as we have three starters at wide receiver. But we also have the two tight ends. So it'll be interesting as we get going, especially once we get to camp and we get the pads on, how we can integrate him into the offense. But we're excited.
So you heard there kind of the notable piece to that answer was that he feels like he's got three starting caliber wide receivers. So really putting to bed the conversations that surrounded DeAndre as a wide receiver 3. And I know that both Sarah and I have labeled him as such. Obviously, his offensive coordinator is not going to get up there and reiterate that kind of messaging. That really doesn't make sense for any party involved whatsoever. Can we agree? Look, he sees it as Zay, Rashad, and DeAndre in terms of what he now has at his disposal as starters. The rest of that wide receiver room, obviously, as we've discussed, Tylan Wallace, who will be grinding to make the roster spot as a veteran and as a big play resume kind of guy. Devontae Walker, the second-year player out of North Carolina. Saw very little of him outside of special teams last year. He did have that nice toe tapper against the Giants, though. I know we all remember that one. Malik Cunningham, the quarterback converted to wide receiver that they brought in from New England a year or two ago. Anthony Miller, veteran. Dayton Wade, former undrafted rookie. Jamal Banks, undrafted rookie. Xavier Guillory, undrafted rookie. We haven't even gotten to the tight ends, by the way, which Todd Monken addressed in just a bit. And I did not mention LeJohntay Wester, who, of course, was their 6th rounder, expected to compete for a special teams role as a return specialist out of Colorado. And then Keith Kirkwood, who's played some time for them as a veteran himself. So, again, this is the way the current 90-man roster looks like ahead of training camp, ahead of mandatory minicamp. For me and my money, to me, the wide receiver room is relatively set in terms of the 53-man roster, right? You're going Zay Flowers, you're going Rashad Bateman, you're going DeAndre Hopkins, you're going with your rookie, you would think, barring something unforeseen, in LeJohntay Wester. You're giving Devontae Walker another opportunity to earn his keep, right, in year 2. And then my 6th and final wide receiver would be Tylan Wallace. I'm not necessarily saying that's how it's going to go in terms of order, but those are my 6 right there. And then obviously you've got those sleepers that'll be lurking if for some reason, knock on wood, there's a training camp injury, right? Can Dayton Wade emerge as that guy? He had a productive training camp last year. Can Anthony Miller prove that he's more than a practice squad player at this point in his career? He's on the back 9 of his career, as is Keith Kirkwood. They're long shots, as are the majority of these undrafted rookies as well. I don't know what Malik Cunningham is at this point in his conversion process, but it's going to be fun to look at that 5th and 6th wide receiver and how they choose to do it. But just based on the most sense and how you build a team with respect to the draft and the investments that you make, you would think that Devontae Walker, LeJohntay Wester are both locks. And I think Tylan Wallace has earned the right to be a lock as a veteran. And those are my thoughts on the Ravens wide receivers. Now, again, DeAndre Hopkins is the veteran of this group in his early 30s. He spent last year with 2 different teams. He began the season with Tennessee and was traded prior to the deadline to Kansas City. Zay now, for the 2nd time in as many years, or the 2nd time in 3 years, has a veteran, and a very accomplished veteran at that, in his wide receiver room to look up to use to his advantage. Odell Beckham Jr., of course, was here for the lone year back in 2023. And now, and those two had a close relationship. It was clear to me that OBJ came in, and while he understood that, yeah, he was unavailable to begin his Ravens career in the first part of the season, but he made an impact. And I was glad to be wrong on the impact that he had in terms of the locker room. He was not a problem whatsoever. And I wouldn't expect DeAndre to be either. But what I will expect, on top of hopefully the situational type of impact that he brings to Baltimore, given his savvy, given his experience, given his contested catch ability, right? That 50-50 ball range that he has as a big body wide receiver. On top of that, as gravy, I would suspect that he's going to be an encyclopedia for what is otherwise a young and inexperienced wide receiver room led by Zay Flowers. Here is number 4 talking about number 10.
He a real vet. Like, he know everything. He teach you what he know. He give out the game. And he work hard, too, so it's easy to just follow him. It's easy to get behind him and do what he do. So he a great vet, and he great for our group. He patient in everything he do. He understand that in practice you got to detail it, so in the game it's perfect. So I've been learning that from him. Just take care of your body. It's really been like that with all my vets. Nelly, Odell, D-Hop, they all tell me the same thing. Take care of your body, and maybe I could play 13 years like him.
I wouldn't doubt it. He's off to a great start. Again, aside from that knee and the setback that kept him away from the postseason, and he's been thinking about that ever since. But here are 4 of your top pass catchers, really 3 of them, with Zay, Bate, and DeAndre. Who's that? Devontae Walker out there as well, looking lean and mean, and he's going to have something to say with the opportunity that he gets to put his best foot forward this upcoming season. But again, I think you want to take things with a grain of salt, obviously, at this point in the process, in early June, weeks out from mandatory minicamp, and more than a month out from the start of Ravens training camp. But what I think you can take from it is that DeAndre is willing to be that elder statesman, but that elder statesman also feels like he's got a chip on his shoulder and he has more left to prove to himself, perhaps to this league, to this organization, and to those that feel that he is washed, to those that feel like, yeah, he was misused in Kansas City and ultimately wasn't able to show what 32-year-old DeAndre Hopkins clearly has left in the tank. And again, it doesn't have to be much. That's the beauty of it, and that's why I'll continue to refer to him as a luxury. I do believe that he is a luxury for this organization. Why do I feel that way? Because again, I think he's going to be able to give you in a short sample size a level of savvy, experience, contested catchability, right? Reliability, particularly when you got to have 4 yards, 5 yards, you're trying to close out a game, you're trying to scratch your way and claw your way back into a game. That's the kind of reliability that DeAndre Hopkins brings. And I think when you look at what he's attempting to replace from a year ago and the underwhelming statistical performance that Nelson Aguilar put forth, it's going to be an immediate upgrade. It's going to be an immediate upgrade this upcoming season. I feel confident about that. And then the question is, if that's the floor, what's DeAndre Hopkins' ceiling? And that obviously remains to be seen. But again, being able to lean on a veteran like that, and if he were to have an Odell Beckham Jr. impact as the floor from 2023, it's not a bad place to start this overall exercise. I appreciate you guys for being with me on this Wednesday. If you're just tuning in and you're wondering where my co-host is, she's in Switzerland for the next week plus, so the show must go on, and that it will. On your way in, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. Let's get to some super chats as well. I appreciate you guys for being here. Dre Dog with another super chat, and it looks like a cause for celebration here. Happy birthday to my baby girl, Araya. Hopefully I pronounced that right, Dre. Araya. Hopefully I'm getting that. Turning 8 today. So happy 8th birthday to Dre Dog's girl and baby girl, that is, his daughter, Araya. That's all. I like that name, too. Sod Blitz 34 says D-Hop was ranked as the 23rd wide receiver in 2024 by PFF grade. And that actually reminds me, what did he combine for? 600 yards or so, receiving yards. Get myself a little refresher right now. So again, 2 different stops, 173 pedestrian-like over 6 games for Tennessee, but clearly the Titans were a disaster last year, their first year after Mike Vrabel was let go by them. 1 touchdown, 15 catches. Gets traded to Kansas City. Bigger sample size, 10 games, 437 yards, 41 receptions, 4 touchdowns. So all in all, when you combine 24, 610 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns, 56 receptions, 80 targets, 10.9 yards per reception. Honestly, those are the types of numbers that if you can give that to Baltimore throughout 17 games, again, 600 plus receiving yards, 5 touchdowns, 10.9 yards per reception, 50 plus receptions. That's clean. That'd be clean living. And again, gravy. Anything he gives them is gravy in a lot of ways because they're not on the hook for very much. This is a veteran who is on the back 9 of his career. It feels like he's got more left to give. That's chasing that coveted, elusive Lombardi trophy. And he's going to have a chance to do so with an offense that is already stacked and that he can absolutely make an impact on. There's no question about that. Appreciate all of you guys. Thanks for the love. And again, happy birthday to Dre Dogs Araya. 1 super chat just popped in as well before we get to the Derrick Henry discussion and his recent interview with Dan Patrick. Not a fan, writes, just wanted to send my condolences to your mustache. May it rest in peace. Gone way too soon, but never forgotten. Not a fan, Steve. Thank you for eulogizing my stash. I appreciate that. Or what it once was. My deceased mustache. Look, every once in a while, as a Trosset with fair skin and essentially glorified peach fuzz as facial hair, you rediscover the idea or the fantasy of having facial hair. Myself nor my brothers can pull off facial hair, but every once in a while, you rediscover that idea and you just give it a shot to see if anything changes. Nothing changed, but I was able to enjoy the stash and my alter ego for a few weeks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'm not superstitious. Maybe it'll come back at another time, but for the time being, we move. Appreciate you, not a fan. Appreciate all of you for spending some time with me on this Wednesday. It's time to talk about Derrick Henry and his recent interview with Dan Patrick. Of course, the King gearing up for yet another season in the NFL, his second in Baltimore, coming off a tremendous campaign, 1,921 rushing yards. Of course, if it wasn't for Saquon Barkley going crazy, who of course now graces the Madden 2026 cover, he probably would have had himself another opportunity, another chance to call himself the King when it comes to rushing titles. Who's to say that he can't go after that exact label and title for 2025? I'm not sure I'd bet against it. But speaking of bets, that's exactly what he's done. He's made a deal. He's made a bet with Dan Patrick. It came towards the end of his brief interview earlier this week with Dan, and it has everything to do with a big milestone, a milestone that he's hit once throughout his future Hall of Fame career, statistically speaking. I'll let him tell you about it and listen to his conversation with Dan Patrick.
Hey, Dan, thank you for wearing that hoodie, man. Lime green brighten up my day. Appreciate it.
Well, this is Happy Gilmore 2. This is what Adam Sandler gave me.
Okay, that's one of my, Adam Sandler, my favorite actor, so that's what's up.
So that's the Happy Gilmore golf swing right there, that patch right there.
Hey, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
If you ever see him again, tell him I'm a really big fan. I would really love to meet him one day.
Okay. You know what I'm going to do?
Man.
I'm going to text him today and ask if he'll send a video.
Please.
And then I'm going to send it to the Ravens.
Okay, cool. I'm a huge fan.
Okay. And if you get to 2,000 yards, I'll get you in a Sandler movie.
All right, cool. Say no more.
Is that all right?
Remember that now. You remember this? Remember that?
No. I'll take care of my end of it.
Okay.
I mean, mine's easy.
Yeah.
Yours is hard. You got to get 2,000 yards.
Say no more.
No pressure.
Bet is on. No pressure at all.
All right. Thank you,
buddy.
buddy.
All right. See y'all.
The bet is on, and as you heard there, clearly for starters, Dan Patrick has a texting relationship. That's how close he is with actor Adam Sandler, who, by the way, is responsible and at the forefront of some of the all-time movies, okay? Click comes to mind. Billy Madison comes to mind. The Waterboy is just straight up legendary, okay? Take your pick. Punch Drunk Love, you name it. All right, Adam Sandler is one of the GOATs, and the King clearly not hiding his affinity for Adam whatsoever. So here it is, something for us all to follow, something that he fell short of by just 79 yards a year ago. The 2,000 rushing yards bet is on, okay? You just heard Dan Patrick, who has a relationship with Adam Sandler, tell the King that he will get him in a Adam Sandler movie if he hits the 2,000 yard mark again in a season. And yes, he's already done it. You got to go back to 2020. He was a member of the Tennessee Titans there, of course, where he spent really his entire career leading up to last season in Baltimore. 2027. Okay? He's hit the 1,500 mark a couple times. And then, of course, he skyrocketed to over 1,900 last season, as I've mentioned a couple times, which was historic. Okay. And the yards per attempt mark, the highest of his career at 5.9 by a significant margin. You got to go back to 5.4 in 2020, which again was his 2,000-yard rushing season. So, can he do it? Do the Ravens have plans to give him a chance to do it? Because I think we can probably all agree and remember that really the first quarter of last year, we were all sort of left wanting more from a usage perspective, more from a carries and workload perspective. But they were careful with him. They eased him into his time in Baltimore. And ultimately, he got to the point where he was rolling for 20-plus carries down the latter half of the season. And you can think about specific games, too, where he was just incredibly impactful. Defenses had absolutely no answers for him. The forced tackles, the yards after contact, just his sheer presence alone and what that did for a Ravens offense that was already extremely explosive was fun to watch. Palpable stuff, right? But will he have a legit chance in year 2 with the Ravens, having just signed a contract extension that keeps him in Baltimore for the foreseeable future? I think it's a fair question to ask. Derrick will turn 32 in January of 2026. So this will be his 31st aged season. And being that he is in Baltimore and they have paid him to the tune of $15 million on an average annual value basis, which is the third highest among running backs league-wide, trailing just Saquon and C-Mac. To me, it begs the question, will he have a legit chance? I'm not going to sit here and argue, can he? Yes, he clearly can. And he could have easily done so last year with more added to his plate, less of a leash earlier on in the season. But will he have a chance is different than can he? And so I think that remains to be seen. If I'm a betting man, I think he falls short of that 2,000-yard mark. And I think that's just fine. I don't think that'll be due to unavailability. I don't think that'll be due to circumstance. I think it'll simply be due to usage. They want to ensure that while absolutely when milestones are in reach, now Nick Sirianni and the Eagles obviously had to make a difficult decision down the stretch last year and decided to sit Saquon when he was going for the all-time record. And so while you always want to be mindful and acknowledge when players have, historic achievements within striking distance of them, you also know that King came to Baltimore for a reason, right? 1, to play with Lamar. 2, to go chase that Lombardi trophy. I think he's going to go just short of that 2,000 number. But it would not surprise me if he's up in that 17, 18, 1,900 area yet again. They've obviously got a jam-packed backfield. Keaton Mitchell is roaring to get himself back to his previous form. Justice Hill continues to be a viable option, a blitz pick-upper, a pass catcher. And I love when Justice gets involved in some of the screen game, and obviously a reliable runner, right? You guys are hysterical, too. You're so quick to call me a pessimist. Again, I hope you listen to the analysis that comes along with it. It's not me getting up here and saying that he isn't capable. It's will he have a chance to show his capability? It's the latter that I have my doubts on. I don't think the Ravens will give him a chance when it comes to the usage that is required to hit the 2,000-yard mark. That's all it is. Because they have bigger fish to fry. That's what it comes down to for me. More from Derrick's interview with Dan Patrick, which really was quite an enjoyable one. And this is the best part about the King. once he starts to get honest and show you that ferocious competitive spirit, it's hard not to absolutely love this guy. Here's an exchange between he and Dan when it comes to what he has left in the tank at 31 and how he compares himself to the early 20s coming out of Alabama. Watch this.
40-yard dash. What would you run it now?
Probably the same when I ran it during the combine.
What was that?
It was like 4.54, 4.52.
Okay. But you seem to be faster when you're carrying the football. There's certain guys who run faster when people are chasing them.
I feel that way too. I don't know. Some people would say you have like testing speed, and then some people have football speed, and I definitely feel like that's the case for me. I feel like I'm more faster on the field.
If I had you and Lamar race?
Oh, I like me.
I'm going to guess he likes him.
Yeah, for sure. He gonna tell you like
Oh, I'm sure he does like him, being Lamar. But Derrick takes him in a 40-yard dash race against Lamar Jackson and thinks that at this point, at 31, that he's running the same speed that he tested at the combine over a decade ago, or around a decade. That is hysterical. And by the way, football speed, right, versus regular speed away from the arena, away from the spirit of competition, perhaps away from just channeled adrenaline from within, that is a real thing. And I love that answer from the King. His competitive spirit oozing from him. He's not backing down. Okay, Lamar's going to get him every day of the week and twice on Sunday. But the fact that he ain't backing down, you just respect it. What did he say? A 4.52? Is that what he said he ran? Let me rewind this just to ensure that we heard that correctly.
when I ran it during the combine.
What was that?
It was like 4.54, 4.52.
Okay.
4.54, 4.52 at the combine. And all these years later, he's sitting up there with a straight face saying, I'm going to run that again. I would run that again in the 40. How can you not love this guy? It's just exceptional. It's excellence. That's what it is. It's excellence. It's expectation. And man, when you look at what the King does and did in this case last year, reaching a top speed of 21.7 miles an hour, okay? Can you blame him for showcasing that kind of confidence? That surefire confidence? 21.7 miles an hour this season. If I had to guess, I would think that was the 80-plus yard touchdown, the first play from scrimmage on that Sunday night football game in Baltimore against the Bills. They went on to smack them, right? I would think that's what he was clocked at, right around there. There were a few other runs that come to mind as well, but he hit that turbo drive. One of the more iconic plays that you can think of in Ravens regular season history, being that it was one of his first games. I think it was like week 4, wasn't it, last year? Like 22 coming at you in bulldozer mode. Get out the way. What a player. What an interview. Good stuff from Dan Patrick. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And by the way, this duo, since we're talking about them and going up against one another when it comes to the 40, just a reminder what they did last year. They combined for over 3,100 rushing yards, which included the postseason. They're the first two teammate duo in NFL history to have 3,000 plus combined rushing yards in a season. Exceptional talents, an exceptional duo. And you get the sense that these two are just getting started. And there is a surgical level of narrowed focus and concentration. And that is a trickle-down effect. It is contagious within the confines of that locker room. You've already heard that be a trend so far this season. That's what I continue to think. A part of that is the focus and precision and bounce back concentration, right, that Mark Andrews is attempting to pull off, given the sour taste that I'm sure he still has in his mouth coming off of last year's shortcoming in that Bills divisional round. His running mate and friend and fellow tight end, Isaiah Likely, is gearing up for a contract year. Every single tight end in the room, matter of fact, is doing exactly that, including the fullback and Patrick Ricard. They're gearing up for contract seasons. Important, life-changing stuff awaits these guys, and obviously performance and overall evaluation will be at the top of mind. Todd Monken, Ravens offensive coordinator, shared some of his 2 cents on the Isaiah and Mark partnership, the duo that they are, and just how honestly impressed he is with how close they've become, given the nature of the competition in a sense. Obviously, these guys are scratching and fighting and clawing for targets. I enjoyed this from Monken.
Good friends, and they're selfless. Like, that's not easy. I know we played a lot of 12 personnel, but there's also, when we go 11 personnel, one of them's in the game, and they're both very capable guys. So Coach Godsey does a great job every week of how do we rotate those guys? Where do we have the targets aligned so those guys feel like they're getting their opportunities? So it starts with them. They're the ones that make that decision that, they're selfless. And I think it gives us, first of all, I'm fired up. They're all here, okay, to run it back with those guys. And, I see us being very similar to last year in a lot of ways because I think that's our best grouping.
It is. How can you not say that? It is, of course, their best grouping. Any other team, Charlie Kolar is a second-string tight end. At times, you're just trying to find ways to get Charlie involved other than tush-push opportunities here and there, special teams, right? Blocking tight end abilities and duties. So, yeah, when you're looking at Mark, Isaiah, and, in Mark's case, a future Ring of Honor member. In Isaiah's case, somebody that in a lot of ways has been held back due to being drafted by such a strong tight end heavy team. And then you go ahead and throw in the Charlie Kolars of the world. Look, Kadir Ismail, unfortunately for him, didn't stand a chance because of just how deep and talented the tight end room is. On top of that, he was transitioning from wide receiver to tight end. Wish that dude the best, man. Can't wait to catch up with Kadri at some point here soon. He's been with the Vegas Raiders this offseason, working in their offseason program. So I can't wait to see how he winds up and how his career and ultimate transition to tight end treats him. But it's a group that is without question, offensively speaking, and probably team-wide, is the most dynamic and dynamite personnel grouping that Todd Monken has at his disposal. The other grouping that has been pretty stout in recent years, particularly given the amount of change that it endured a year ago, not only with the passing of the great Joe D'Alessandris, offensive line coach, not only with starting a rookie, really, from almost the jump in Roger Rosengarten, dealing with your fair share of injuries up and down the line. I'm talking about the offensive line. And that's something that Todd Monken spoke about at the press conference this week, related to some of the polish that is absolutely at the top of the must improve list. And I'll have some numbers to back that up. Obviously, Patrick McCary, no longer with the organization, having been allowed to walk essentially in free agency to Jacksonville. He was at times last year an undisciplined player. Ronnie Stanley had his fair share of penalties as well. But again, the polish, the operation, got to get shored up in order to achieve more consistency from the front five. And that's something that Todd Monken spoke about yesterday.
Thing I told the guys that what we can't do is, first of all, we have a lot of guys repping. So the more you rep guys, it's going to put an onus on a lot of different guys, right? And some guys that, to be honest, probably won't be playing for us, but that's a freaking excuse, okay? The reality is we can't give in to just go into one cadence. That's an easy solution. The easy solution is we'll go on one every time, right? Blah, 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 set hut. I mean, is that the best way to do it? I'm not trying to be. I'm just being real with you. So we've got to work it now. Now is the time for us to work multiple cadence, right? Because that was one of our things in the offseason. How do we get better at multiple cadence without jumping and flinching as much? For sure. It's disappointing. I watch it. I'm as disappointed as anybody, but we're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to chart it. And the guys that continue to get penalties, they'll struggle to get on the field.
Deservedly so. And last year, again, a couple names that you don't want to see, not a top, but not far from the top, shall we say, of most penalized offensive linemen from the 2024 season. Patrick McCary found himself on this list. He played 17 games, was penalized 10 times. Ronnie Stanley for the Ravens at left tackle, 9 penalties, 17 games. This is the kind of stuff that if you're looking for not a weakness per se, McCary's gone. Question is, who's stepping up to be the starting left guard? Will it be Andrew Voorhees? Will it be a rookie? Who's it going to be? Obviously, Daniel Fa'alele, you would think, is in pole position to pick up where he left off last year at right guard. Will Ben Cleveland emerge? Don't hold your breath on that one. All due respect to Ben, given his situation and recent history with the team. But he is on this he is with this organization. Got one more year under his belt. So right now you would think it's Andrew Voorhees' job to lose. And you would hope that the only way to go is up, given Patrick's undisciplined, which is uncharacteristic, right? Uncharacteristically undisciplined season from Patrick McCary, who had been such a reliable player for them in terms of versatility, right? Sort of jack of all trades, master of none label that's been attached to him over the years. While there's negative connotations that come with that, I really don't mean anything negative by that whatsoever. So this is obviously an area that they have to shore up. I believe they will shore it up. There was so much change that they endured last year. And Todd Monken is making it clear, right? Not hiding whatsoever, not mincing words at this point in the offseason program whatsoever. And that, to me, is refreshing if you're a Ravens fan. Before we get to quick hits, let's get caught up in super chats and gift giving. Will the run begin? That remains to be seen. We began today's episode at 526 channel Voltrons. That is official channel members. You can click the join button, the join feature, depending on what platform you're watching today's episode on, and consider either gift giving or becoming a channel member. We would love for you to do so. We just rolled out this feature back in March. And again, 526. I think we began with like just over 400 yesterday. And then the run began, and it was just an exceptional display of generosity, which is so incredibly appreciated, I should say. So thanks to all of you who've been donating. Let's see. Heather McCubbins gets us started in terms of memberships, and in this case, the gift giving. Gifting one. Thank you, Heather, so much. We appreciate you for being here. You seemingly never miss an episode, which is awesome. Sod Blitz 34 writes, check your email, Bobby. I sent a 5-graphic breakdown comparing Philadelphia and Baltimore by unit grades. The Ravens wide receiver and tight end unit is the highest rated due to its depth. That does not surprise me whatsoever. I appreciate you, Sod. I have not checked that yet, but I do need to check it. Sometimes things fall through the cracks with us when it comes to emailing just because of everything that's on our plate. But BaltimoreRavensVault at gmail.com is how you can hit us up as well. And I appreciate you for doing so, Slod. Dre Dog with another super chat. Hall of Fame duo, and yes, you said her name right. So happy birthday to Oriah once more. And the Hall of Fame duo that I think you're referring to is Isaiah and Mark. Who's to say? I could see it. God King checking in, who's a channel member. And I agree with you, God King. Shout out to Chris, Tila. I'll add on a few. Asmodeus. Gosh. Park Heights Prophet. Who else was in the gift-giving side of things yesterday? I think Evan got involved. I felt like there were so many of you yesterday that just willed us to get to that 500 number. The question becomes, when will 600 become? Remains to be seen. Perhaps this Friday. Perhaps there's a last-minute run here prior to Quick Hits or after Quick Hits. I don't know, but maybe we'll hit it on Friday. But yeah, Chris, Tila, and everybody that's been so integrally involved, heavily involved in the gift-giving process. It's been a lot of fun to watch and be a part of. Speaking of gifts, Sean gifted himself. He became a channel member. So welcome, Sean, to channel membership. Get some perks that come along with it as well. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for being here today. Please like the video if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Email us at BaltimoreRavensVault@gmail.com if you'd like to become a channel member. You guys know the drill. Appreciate you. All right. Quick hits. Let's get to them. Lamar, just prior, he's been on Twitter this week, making himself available. But yeah, just right before we came on, Lamar took to X. And let's see, who is this? Pump Fake Jones on X. Said NGL, not going to lie. If LJ Era 8 had a signature shoe, I would be in my home office running the read option with a gif of Lamar and Mark in game. Okay. Lamar quote tweets. He's been on a quote tweet tear and says, he's laughing, a couple laugh emojis, and says, that time's coming. What's that make me think? I don't know if he's teasing a signature shoe drop. But what I do know is when it comes to Lamar Jackson, he beats to his own drum. And Lamar from the jump has done things at his own pace and time. He's extremely selective with which endorsements he chooses to work with, right? He's obviously an extremely private person. But if he's thinking about a new Era 8 sort of independent signature shoe drop, and he's just kind of trying to tease us a little bit and throw this out there in the open, wouldn't that be something? I don't know what he was referring to down there in the thread, by the way, but he said it just sounds weird a little bit with like almost Roman numerals 2. So that one went over my head, if I'm being honest, but maybe that time is coming. And I know a lot of you will be backing up the Brinks truck to ensure that when his time does come or when this signature shoe does drop, you're going to make yourself available to throw down that deposit, correct? Maybe we'll have to do a giveaway with it as well. Gotta love it. By the way, speaking of giveaways, I'm doing another $100 Fanatics gift card this month on the Bobby Baltimore side of things. All you have to do is go to my channel, go to the Primary Residential Mortgage Instagram page, go enter yourself in. It's super easy. $100 towards Baltimore's team store, courtesy of Fanatics and Primary Residential Mortgage. One quick hit on the Pittsburgh side of things. Remember, they just within the last 24 hours or so, this was on yesterday's quick hits, the Steelers renewed conversations with Miami. Okay, or I should say with Miami tight end Jonnu Smith. He's seeking a new contract. So there's potential for a trade there that could exist. Right? It's still alive, according to Schefter, was yesterday. And now here is maybe why you see why that's the case. Because Donald Parham Jr. suffered a torn Achilles, and it's likely going to end his 2025 season. So tough break there for Pittsburgh's tight end. Another tough break of what has been a tumultuous offseason, particularly with the news cycle surrounding their quarterback saga in Pittsburgh. But this is the latest on the Steelers. Ryan, thank you for the chat. Let us know what you ended up winning from Fanatics. Again, this is our winner from last month's schedule release Fanatics giveaway that we did, and we're doing another one. So go check it out. It's a great way to flash, great way to get involved in the giveaway side of things, and Ryan was our winner. Again, go to Primary Residential Mortgage or PRMI Mid-Atlantic on Instagram if you want to learn more. It's great stuff. Fanatics, $100 towards Baltimore's team store. Well, that is Bobby Solo episode number 1. I got news for you. It ain't going to be a 90-plus minute episode. Tough to do with one person. But I felt like we covered some good ground here. There is more press conferences, and there will be more press conference content to get to tomorrow. Day 2 of the second session of Ravens organized team activities gets underway from Baltimore in a short while. So, of course, we will follow that accordingly. I will also go live on the Bobby Baltimore channel later this afternoon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Chris is saying, where the heck are you going? And using her 1 month of channel membership perk here to let me know you ain't going anywhere. Hey, I'll just say this. Take a swig of water. If there's a run on memberships or gift giving, I have to stay around. But that run hasn't come, and I have finished my content. Just throwing that out there. I'm not even going into Bobby Greed mode whatsoever. That's just the reality. Right? If the run starts, then I got to stick around. But that run really hasn't gotten kickstarted today, which is fine. We could save it for Friday. But if for some reason that thing gets ignited in the next couple minutes, then I'll stick around and start talking about things I shouldn't because I overshare. Like my thoughts on baby gender reveals, or how I'm going to get my mother on a dating app, or how my current location is here in upstate New York and my age range has been dropped down to 22 up to 31. It's kind of a wide range. What else? How I'm probably going to put my Hinge location in downtown Hong Kong when I visit my brother who's backpacking in Asia later this month. You guys know how it goes. Don't get me oversharing now. It's over. Thank you, Chris. Bobby After Dark can absolutely happen at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Long story short on baby gender reveals is I've been invited to one by a longtime friend of mine. It's really an acquaintance. We don't stay in touch, honestly, much at all. And he and his wife are expecting. And I got to be honest with you, he wouldn't have been caught dead going to a baby gender reveal party, much less hosting one as recently as like a year or two ago. Now he's like breathing down our necks to show up. To me, it takes the surprise and the intrigue out of the process. Am I saying that I will never be a part of a baby gender reveal? No, I've already been a part of it for my cousins. So you guys do what you want out there. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it's not for me. I think it takes that surprise element out of it, which is a fun little wrinkle throughout the process. Maybe I'm just speaking from personal experience in our family. All 4 of us, they were surprised at birth. My parents were. So, could be an old school thought. That's my thought on gender reveals. Dre Dog's like, yeah, throw the baby showers in there as well. Christopher Saxey and Big Fesh 927. By the way, I've been tasked with planning my first bachelor party. I'll tell you about that in a second. Christopher Saxey and Big Fesh 927. Appreciate you both, gentlemen, for the support that you give us through Patreon. This is your monthly shout out. We appreciate you very much. Thank you for being part of that community. You guys, if you'd like to join that community, can visit patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. You guys know the drill by now. I have been asked to be the best man in my college roommate's wedding, April of 2026 in Baltimore, and I have been tasked with planning the bachelor party. He requested a Killington, Vermont type of cabin weekend in the winter of 2026. Well, I just so happen to have a decent level of familiarity with the Vermont area because I grew up in upstate New York. You guys know that by now. So I am in the process, well out and in front, right? Like 9-10 months out in front of planning a bachelor party. But I found a friggin' sweet cabin in Killington for 11 dudes. It's got a hot tub. It's got a cabin-like feel. It's way out in the wilderness, but yet still close to the downtown area, still within striking distance of the mountains for skiing. And then the question becomes, how much are strippers? No, I'm just kidding. Killington-based strippers. Thank you, Killington, Vermont. Amazing. No, if his fiance is watching, that's really just a joke. But, obviously, as the best man and as the spearhead man of this itinerary, some tough decisions will have to be made. And I plead the fifth on the rest of that. So that's the plan. I think he wants to get like an in-house chef for the night one day. I think he wants to obviously go out, enjoy ourselves, and we'll see who else ends up showing up. So there you have it. Aside from that, honestly, I don't have much else within the one more thing category. I am sort of tapping into my lifestyle influencer side of things. I don't know if that's the proper way to put it, but obviously I have been here in upstate New York for the last 10 days or so, helping my mother around the house. We have a slew of projects that we're working on, and in order to get through it, we have been having a little bit of fun on Instagram. So if you guys want to follow along for sort of like the lifestyle side of me, you can follow me at Bobby Baltimore. You guys know the drill by now, but this was the one that Sarah and I shared last week. Obviously, the declutter chronicles here have been rather entertaining, and I think some of you got a kick out of that. So go check it out. There's Madre starring in this Instagram reel and me throwing out a rug that never should have been included on a back deck. But that is neither here nor there. And so, come hang with us. There's going to be more. We might be dropping one tonight on, you guessed it, dating. Okay. So time will tell. Look forward to connecting with you guys over there. Richard is checking in. It says, Bobby, don't look at Vermont, look at Canada. Listen, that's the issue here is I would probably have other decisions, other priorities than Vermont for a bachelor party, but I'm just the best man. I can't quite hijack it to the level of maybe what I want to do. So that's my hands are tied there a little bit, but I appreciate the rec, Richard. Thank you. Evan says, Bobby, I saw your post, those protein shakes on Insta. How do you like those? To be honest with you, Evan, if I'm being brutally honest, so you're referring to one of our new sponsors that we're going to run a little promotion with here in the month of June. It's called Huel, Huel. And the strawberry banana was not to my liking, to be honest with you. But there's a bunch of other flavors that I still have to try. Chocolate, iced coffee. I don't know how I'm going to do that because I don't drink coffee. Like, is iced coffee just a flavor or is there actual coffee in there? I guess I should probably go look that up. But I thought that strawberry banana would be best for me, but it wasn't. And I honestly, you guys know, I work out most mornings. And this morning I attempted to finish the second half of yesterday's. So what should be a drink that you pop down, and guzzle one per day, I couldn't even get through one because I just didn't agree with it. It just wasn't to my liking. So got to kind of figure out how we're going to discuss that during the advertisement. But that's that. I mean, what do you want me to do? Lie? I've white lied before, but I can't blatantly lie. Mimi Ray says, I'm calling you Bobby Biceps from now on. Oh, Mimi. Mimi's calling me Bobby Biceps. I see. How come there can't be more flattering ones like Mimi? You guys often hit me with ones that are just daggers, right? Like Bobby Brain Dead. I feel like I've gotten that one before. But Mimi just took it to a whole new level. Should I flash her for that? Like, should I? I'll just keep it over here. Thanks, Mimi. Appreciate you. And the Minx Cutie may have some competition forming here. Just throwing that out there. That might be the elephant in the room. Mimi, I'm not sure if you're spoken for, and if you are, I mean, no disrespect, but I do appreciate the compliment, and do not take comments compliments lightly. So thank you, Mamie Ray, checking in. Jang says, Bobby, I went to Chamonix a few years back. I wish I could watch the live chat right now, but I can't. And typically Sarah would be talking right now during the super chat, but I can't because I can't do both things at once. Jang, Bobby, I went to Chamonix a few years back. Did you go skiing? I did the gondola ride and a train ride up the Swiss Alps. So I did not ski. It was in November. So it was like borderline fall. I spoke about this yesterday as we kind of sent Sarah off to Switzerland. My brother and I were visiting. Well, he was in Spain at the time. He was living abroad. And I visited him during bye week 23. And we did Madrid, where I used to study. And so that was like an awesome full circle moment. And then we flew from Madrid to Geneva. And once we realized that Geneva was a little bit too romantic and quaint for our liking, I loved it, but we wanted a little bit more of an adventure. We took a bus from downtown Geneva, like 2 hours to Chamonix, which is on the French border, as you know. And so, no, we didn't go skiing. We hiked, we hit the gondola, we walked through the town, we walked the golf course. The place was unbelievable. I absolutely loved Chamonix, and I cannot recommend it enough for anybody that enjoys, Europe and outdoor scenery and terrain and mountains and hiking. And it was incredible experience. Richard says, I mean, Canadian strippers. Okay. So you're saying, I love how we're going back down this road. So you want me to bring in Canadian strippers rather than Killington, Vermont strippers now. Okay. I got you. Okay. I got you. That's hysterical. This is going to take on new life. And you know what's going to happen when Sarah gets back from her vacation, or if she's watching right now, she's going to be like, how did we get on that topic? How did you start talking about your best man duties and ultimately getting your best friend, one of your best friends, in hot water? I don't think there's any hot water. He's a faithful guy. He's a great dude. Canadian strippers. Okay, good to know. Richard speaks from experience. DreDog679 says, Bobby, put your Instagram post in Discord. Oh, because you don't have IG, do you? I forgot. All right. Hold on a second here. Dre, why don't you have Instagram, dude? I don't know why that's the case. I'll do this. At DreDog. I just tagged you and I dropped the link in there. There you go. You can see my lifestyle future. Appreciate you, Dre. Dream says, Bobby, shoot your shot. We about to set up a date. There's 150 comments right now that I've missed since I've just been in the other section. So what the hell is going on over there? Mimi Ray. Man, you guys are hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And look who's in the chat. Her ears must have been ringing. I'm definitely going to get a text from her once this is over. So what happened after dark today? What was that one more thing? The funny part is I didn't even have a one more thing. I just expanded on what we discussed, and now it's 1:15, and here I am on the verge of giving you 90 minutes of content, which I claimed that I would not do. But Sarah's in the house. Partner, are you airport chilling right now listening to me talk about Canadian strippers with Richard? I'm planning my best man's. I'm the best man for my best friend from college, and we're planning the bachelor party. That's how we got on it. It was unprompted. I probably did it to myself. Somebody rein me back in. I need my co-host here with me. But yeah, safe travels. We hope that your trip is off to a good start. And by the way, Sarah is number 30. So she says she's number 36 on the leaderboard. That's weak, which reminds me that I don't even know what she's talking about, what that looks like, because I haven't watched as if I'm a viewer. Now, this is pretty funny. The auto-generated experiment, the chat summary that's, again, AI, just flashed something. And wait a second. It went away. I want to go back to that. Where did that go? The chat summary is hysterical. Okay, Sarah says she's in Philly. And obviously there's 200 comments, so I have no clue what's going on right now. There's about 1,500 side conversations happening at my expense right now. And my partner's definitely wondering how we got here. But she says she's number 36 on the leaderboard. That's got to change. Definitely has to change. But being that you aren't a viewer of us every day, Sarah, I think you can probably understand why that might be the case. We got to cut you some slack on that leaderboard. Who knows where I'd be? But anyway. And now look who's aiding our channel, who is now supporting our channel out of the generosity from her vacation pockets. Sarah says, yo, how do I give a membership gift? Can somebody please guide my co-host who is airport chilling? Is that what it is in Philly? I got to scroll all the way up to get her update in terms of where she is. Somebody let me know if you saw it. But I can also maybe lend a helping hand. And Sarah, it looks like if you press the join button, I'm guessing you don't have a laptop in front of you, a desktop. So how the heck do you do it on the phone, guys? Can you do it digitally? Let's pull it up. Not a Fan says that he cannot do GIFs on a digital phone. Tila says I had to pull up YouTube on my phone browser, then go to desktop mode. Wow. That's kind of extensive. Let's see. I just pulled up as Bobby Baltimore, so. Okay. Press the money sign. Super stickers and super chat. That's not what we need, obviously. So, yeah, it looks like you do need to put it in desktop mode somehow. So, somehow, some way, Tila, you got to let everybody know how you go from digital to desktop mode when you're on a cell phone. And that's definitely a feature that's probably got to get cleaned up a little bit, right? By YouTube. They've done such a great job with everything else, especially with these memberships. It's been awesome. But I'm glad partners watching us. And hopefully you guys enjoyed things here. Sarah says, oh, desktop mode. I don't bring mine. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't bring yours. YouTube should make it much easier for mobile, which is exactly, we're on the same page. And hopefully YouTube will. But it was a great first start here to solo Bobby. Obviously, we've got a lot of ground to cover. We'll continue to do so this week. Sarah, London, hopefully you guys are off to a good start. We look forward to living vicariously through you. And Sarah did promise me that I think that she's going to post more. So we'll see if she follows through, because you already know I'm going to be holding it to her for sure. Okay. Thank you guys for a fantastic Wednesday. Perhaps that 600 number is one that we flirt with come Friday. I really am just too darn negative, Evan, aren't I? The pessimist. That mother effer pessimist. Time to go. I almost gave you 90 minutes. Sarah's somewhere shaking her head saying, man, he always gets on us about going 90, 100 minutes. And here he is in solo form in early June, still going 80 minutes strong. It's time to go. You're correct. It's time to go. Easier said than done. As I've told everybody, it's been very difficult to monitor the chat, as you know well, during the Bobby Plague, the Buffalo Plague. Solo hosting, it's a multitasking experience, obviously, and you just can't keep up with everything. But I look forward to scrolling back and figuring out everything I missed, especially with Mimi. Mimi, have a great day. The Minx the Cutie, have a great day. Everybody have a great day, including the Ellisons. Dreams gets us on the way out. Oh, I missed this. So thank you for resurfacing it, Quion, who says that, Bobby, Mimi said she's unspoken for. It's good to know. That's good to know. Sarah would like to know the concurrence without her massive audience in the Twitter space, because when each other is out, we obviously don't go live on those accounts. So at the moment, we have over 500. We have had over 700. So that's what today has been, Tila and Sarah. Thank you for asking. That's what's going on right now. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. Perhaps 600 will be reached by the end of this week. We began at 526. We finish at 528. A light day, which is fine. Bobby Greed ain't coming out today. For Sarah, en route to Switzerland. For London, en route with her. And for all of you for spending some time with me on this Wednesday, I appreciate you. 2:30 press conference coming up in about 70 minutes from now. I will react to them accordingly on the Bobby Baltimore channel. I also saw that Nate Wiggins recently sat down with the Lounge. I've got to get that on my priority list. We will cover all that and more coming up tomorrow in under 23 hours from right now. You guys know the drill. We'll catch up with you. Thank you for the love. Like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Be on the lookout for our best of playlist, which drops at 4 o'clock. It's short, condensed content in the form of 15 to 20-minute segments, 4 Eastern, every single day. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate all of you for spending some time with me. As always, Voltrons, thank you for being with us here inside the vault. We'll catch up with you on Thursday, if not before. So glad Partner is able to join us virtually en route to across the pond. I'll catch up with you guys, as I would say to Sarah right now at this point. Okay, Bobby, just sign off. Sign off I will. Later.